Is it good to go? Yeah, Donna, good? Okay. Ready to go.
It'll be fun.
You guys good?
I'll be picking your brain.
I would like to call to order this Forest Grove City Council meeting on Monday, March 18th at 7:01 PM. Will the city recorder please call roll?
Councillor Gustafson,
Here.
Council President Rippey,
Here.
Councillor Martinez,
Here.
Councillor Marshall,
Here.
Councillor Valenzuela,
Here.
Councillor Ewing,
Here.
Mayor Wenzel.
Here. Forest Grove City Council meetings are located on the land of the Tualatin Kalapuas, who call themselves the Atfalati. They are now part of the Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde. Would the audience and council please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It is Community Development Month proclamation. That's National Community Development Month, April 2024. Whereas the month of April has been designated as National Community Development Month by the National Community Development Association to celebrate the Community Development Block Grant CDBG program and the Home Investment Partnerships Home program. And whereas the CDBG program provides annual funding and flexibility to local communities to provide decent, safe, and sanitary housing, a suitable living environment, and economic opportunities to low and moderate income people. And whereas the Home Investment Partnership Home program provides funding to local communities to create decent, safe, affordable housing opportunities for low-income persons. Nationally, over 1 million units of affordable housing have been completed by using home funds. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Forest Grove does hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 as National Community Development Month. In Forest Grove, Oregon, Washington County, in support of these two valuable programs that have made tremendous contributions to the viability of housing stock, infrastructure, public services, and economic vitality in our community. Thank you. Thank you. Next up is item B on our agenda, public comments. Time provided for anyone wishing to speak to the City Council on an item not on the agenda or on the agenda but not scheduled for a public hearing. Comments are limited to 2 minutes unless additional time is granted by the presiding officer. The public comment period shall not exceed 30 minutes unless a majority of councilors present vote to extend the time. Zoom attendees may use the raise hand feature to be called on. So is there any, okay, there's nobody signed up for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to give public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on to Zoom. Are there any Zoom attendees who would like to give public comment? I don't see any attendees this meeting. It's like a first in 4 years. Okay. Well, with that, we will move on to the consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be adopted with a single motion without separate discussion. Councilors who wish to remove an item from the consent agenda may do so prior to the motion. Any items removed will be discussed and acted upon following the approval of the remaining items. What is the wish of the council?
Move that we approve the consent agenda.
1 minute, please, Council President Rippey. Councilor Gustafson.
I'd like to remove C4 from the consent agenda.
Okay, so item C4 is going to be removed from the consent agenda. Do you want to make your motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item C4.
Second. It was moved, the consent agenda minus item C4 was moved by Council President Rippey and seconded by Councilor Valenzuela. All those in favor of adopting the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say aye. Okay, hearing none, the consent agenda is approved by the Forest Grove City Council, or with the exception of item C4, with a vote of 7-0. Okay, so separate discussion on item C4. Councilor Gustafson.
I'll be abstaining from C4 due to a perceived bias.
Thank you. What is the wish of the council for item C4?
I move that we approve item C4.
Thank you, Council President. Council President Rippey made a motion for item C4. It was seconded by Councilor Marshall. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same signal. Hearing none. Item C4 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a vote of 6-0 with Councilor Gustafson abstaining. Okay, moving on to item D. Additions or deletions. City Manager, any additions or deletions?
There are no additions or deletions. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Any proposed by council?
I have my hand up. Counselor Ewing, I would like us to consider as a consensus to put on our next available opportunity for a work session with our IT department. I had an opportunity, as was extended to all of the council, to have my iPad and technology upgraded. And during that time, I just learned so much information. I know this has also been an item that Donna has mentioned several times, but I would really like to have a work session so we can discuss, what's currently happening with IT, what are our future goals, and security. Could I get a consensus to put this on the next available date for a work session?
Can I ask, does staff know the topic, understand the topic of the work session?
I had brought it, I'm sorry, I guess you're asking me. I had talked with Jared, the IT manager, and I said that I would bring it up at this meeting so that we could get planned a work session. With that, I would assume that we probably will have more conversation with Paul and Jesse as to what we'd like that work session to also include.
Jesse.
So we can certainly have a work session. I know that we plan to address some of these topics regarding IT at the upcoming budget meeting as well.
Right.
So I can take a look at the calendar. Councilor Ewan, I think maybe if we could have another conversation about a little more specific about what the topic would be, that would be good. But otherwise, I'm pretty sure that we are going to be addressing IT security and some of the other IT issues during the budget process as well.
I knew that we were, Jesse, and I had hoped that perhaps we could I'm not looking at a long work session from talking with Jacob. I just don't feel that I'm as informed as I need to be about the different technological issues and changes. And I think that that would help also me understand the presentation via the budget. So we can certainly talk, but I would like us to see if we couldn't get a work session.
Councilor Gustafson.
I just wanted to kind of double down on that. I'm going to have some questions myself since I've been appointed to the Cybersecurity League of Oregon Cities group. There's going to be a lot of questions I have as well. So Jesse, I can email you kind of what that would look like.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
So that he's more prepared.
Okay, can I get consensus? I got a thumbs up from Council President Rippey. Okay, we have consensus on the dais to move forward with that work session. Thank you, Councilor Ewing and Councilor Gustafson. Any other proposed additions or deletions from council? Seeing none. Okay, we're going to move on to item E, which is our presentation. The council will hold questions until the end of each presentation. A 2-minute reminder will be given to the presenter to conclude remarks. First up, we have Washington County Commissioner for District 4, Mr. Jerry Willie, who's going to come and give us an update. Thank you, Commissioner Willie. Yeah, I think it's good, but staff will tell us when we're wrong.
Well, thank you very much, by the way, to give me a few minutes tonight to just bring you up to date on some of the things that we're dealing with at the county and some of our priorities. And I'm taking full credit for not having very many people here tonight because the word obviously got out.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So for everyone who is listening, just to give you a quick demographics of Washington County, obviously we have over 600,000 people. We're divided into 4 districts, and this is District 4, as the mayor stated. We have about, the county has about 225,000 people who live in unincorporated Washington County, so not cities. District 4 has 6 cities, Hillsborough, Cornelius, Forest Grove, Banks, Gaston, and North Plains. And so it's very unique. Works perfectly for me as a former mayor. I love working with cities. So it is fun to come and make these presentations to you. We have, as a county, we have a budget of $1.7 billion. A lot of money. Unfortunately, only about $300 million of that is general fund money, and it's general fund money that we use to run operations and keep trains going on time and the services that are required. And so we are moving into budget season, as I know you are as well. And we are anticipating from last year, we had a $25 million decrease in our general fund. This year, we're anticipating another $10 million. So it's very, very difficult. So you say, well, why is that? We're growing, the economy's coming back. Primarily, what's our primary source of revenues for our general fund is property tax. Property taxes are capped at 3%. We all know that certainly inflation and the cost of services, cost of construction is significantly higher than 3%. So we lose a lot of ground in that regard. We also have a number of services that our state is mandating that we begin to take on additional demands for behavioral health, mental health, homelessness. I'll talk a little bit more about all of those in a minute. All of those, and certainly our public safety. All of those services are increasing in demand and, of course, increasing in cost. And so that's what the balance that we're trying to manage as we go forward. So we talk about homelessness, affordable housing, behavioral health. All of those, you know, we used to kind of look at those as individual items, but we all now know that they are all combined in some regards. And so with the homelessness, fortunately, we have the shelter housing initiative that was passed a few years ago that creates about $70 million for Washington County. We are using that money to provide housing services, shelter services for our homeless community. We had to go through the time, place, and manner process as well as you did. And so with all of that, to facilitate the time, place, and manner, we had to have housing, shelter for our homeless community. We've been able to do that. And we've been able to exceed, I believe, what our expectations and certainly the regional expectations. We are facilitating and spending all of that money on housing services. Again, I use that term probably incorrectly. Shelter housing services for our homeless community to make sure that we do not have to go back to having camps like you experienced here for several years out on Camp 47 and other places. So we are very positive and strong about utilizing this money to make sure that we do not regress back to that. Affordable housing also, there was an affordable housing initiative several years ago. we've been able to facilitate that money, and we have exceeded the expectations of that. We have increased our supply of regulated affordable housing and have another 1,000 homes in the pipeline to be affordable to households earning 6% of the area median income or below. So we continue to focus on that. As you all know, we have gone through that amount of money that Washington County has allocated, and we'll see what next steps are to provide funding for our affordable housing. I was in Salem today to have an Association of Oregon Counties meeting regarding House Bill 4002, which is certainly our behavioral health, public safety, Measure 110, kind of all wrapped in together there, conversation to see where we go next with that. It's a very positive opportunity that we have. I'm glad that the state stepped up and provided significant funding for that, but we will now see how we put all of that together and make sure it works. What we do know is that we have a mental health crisis, we have a behavioral health crisis, and all of that is tied in certainly to some of the demands on our homelessness and some of our housing folks. With that, we are very happy. I'm sure that you've heard that we have the Center for Addiction and Treatment Triage, CATT. We are, this last legislative session, they awarded us the last funding, so we are now complete in our funding. We are moving ahead. We have 2 facilities that will be opened up, one in Hillsborough and one right on the edge of Hillsborough and Beaverton. They're going to be phenomenal facilities. We're very happy about that. The bad news is they won't open until probably late 25. So we've got about 18 months. We can certainly facilitate. We could use those services immediately. So we're very happy that we're able to provide the funding for that. We have federal funding and state funding, so this was all hands on deck. We're very happy that we were able to do that. And then moving to transportation, we have the MSTIP money that we are looking at. The MSTIP 3F funding is coming through. We're looking at projects for that. Forest Grove has 2 projects in the funding cycle. The Martin Road Highway 47 is actually going to be wrapping up pretty soon. I come in from, and I can't even remember the name, the road that I come in on, where you put in the roundabout on where it connects up with 47.
Burden Road?
Yeah, I'm going to find out when that's going to be done, because
Martin.
I have to go out and around on the loop here.
Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was supposed to be done a while ago, so the community page is hot about that. I'm just going to tell you.
So I better reach out to our LUT bunch and say, let's get this thing going. Because I completely agree. It sends us out and about and around. And then design work is in the program for Highway 47 Fern Hill Maple intersection improvement. And we're hoping to proceed to construction in 2025, depending on funding well on that. So Forest Grove has got some great couple of projects going on there. And there's several other that, as you know, District 4 gets an equal allocation with the rest. North Plains has got some projects going on. Banks got a project going on. So we've got some funding available. We're just looking forward to getting those projects going. It takes a long time to get these projects done. And then some of the more fun stuff, Councilor Rippey is certainly aware of this. Our Council Creek Trail, we're continuing to move along with that. Again, that's a very slow process that we have on that. We're looking forward to some design specifications on that, some ownership agreements, who's going to manage the Council Creek Trail, depending on, of course, Forest Grove's part, Cornelius' part, Hillsborough's part, and the county has a section in there. So the 4 of us are going to need to get together, talk about how we maintain that and what we want to see for our particular section of that. But it's really exciting to me, and I'll look forward to when we can start I'll tell you the first step of this is when the rail and the ties are pulled out of the ground and it's leveled up, and all of a sudden you start to see this is going to be a very cool place. And the reason why I can say that is because the Salmonberry Trail is doing the same thing. We have pulled rail and ties on 7 miles from Banks out towards Buxton. And as soon as we did that and it was smoothed out, we didn't do anything else. People started coming out and we're on the trail. So now we have to go out and put up signs that says, nope, you can't do this. You can't, because we have risk with this, but it's also just a nice rail bed. But it does give you a glimpse of coming attractions, and it's really going to be an exciting project. So not only the Salmonberry Trail, but Council Creek. And remember, at some point in time in the long distance future, those two are supposed to connect up. So we'll see. We got to get one done before we start to work on it. But other than that, that's all the information I have. I don't even know how long I took, so I apologize if I went over time.
You're good. Any questions for Commissioner Willie?
I do.
Okay.
Counselor Ewing. Hi, Jerry. How you doing?
Good.
Beautiful weather to be out here in Forest Grove. I have a couple of questions for you. When we're talking about affordable housing, and that's kind of a passion of mine, and you say 60%, are we really doing also a focus on workforce housing? Because there's kind of a distinct difference between affordable housing and then workforce housing, which I think that more of the middle income working folk are having a difficulty just getting a home, even though they're working individuals. So I'd like a little bit more information. I know that you've spent the affordable housing dollars, but perhaps a little bit more attention to the workforce housing. And then could you give me a definer between when you say behavioral health, because I see we've got, mental health and then behavioral health. Could you give a little bit more explanation as to what would be in that particular category? Thanks.
Well, okay, I'll do the first one, workforce housing, absolutely. Workforce housing is very closely associated with just affordable housing, and we are all focused on both of those. Yes, we want to make sure that the 60% median income folks have certainly opportunities for housing, but I think the workforce housing comes alongside the same thing. It's just that the money was designated for the affordable housing and the 60% median income. So that's where we had to design that. I can only say that we talk about both of them. We certainly talk about workforce housing and workforce opportunities, almost in the same paragraph, but again, affordable housing, the 60% had to take precedence. So we had to do that. Behavioral health, I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone in explaining that, but to me, behavioral health is what we're dealing with addiction and certainly trauma. And so when we deal with that function of it, that aspect of it, we have to have a different treatment mode on that. And I think that's where House Bill 4002 is definitely going to be focused. We have to be able to provide services and opportunities rather than arresting them and putting them in jail, which we don't have the jail capacity to do that right now anyway, and provide them opportunity for treatment of those things. How that differentiates from mental health, well, I'll get back to you because I'm certainly not.
Commissioner Willie, I'm hoping you can take back just appreciation to your SHS department, Marnie, Jess. So Forest Grove really relies on our partners in order to be a full service city and do the best we can. And last year, Marnie worked with us Chief Ryman, and address some of the needs at the Camp 47, the 47 encampment. And I just really appreciate the work that y'all did, because it really helped us out in meeting. There's a couple of competing interests, and we all really had the same goal, I think, is to get people in some sort of supportive housing, maybe some resources that they need. And it was just done so well by Marnie's team. And I just want to really tell you that, and tell you that we appreciate that. I believe 70% of the people that were living on 47 received some sort of, or were at least offered sheltering services. The camp's been closed now since July. And so that's really, we were receiving public comment monthly from community members in that neighborhood, about environmental things, safety. And so that was just a huge, I just want to say we really appreciate it. And Marnie's just so great to work with. And it's a way the county and the city work together to meet our needs. And so if you could take that back, that would be great.
I will certainly do that. Thank you, Mayor. And I want to give a shout out to your chief, because he worked very closely with, and I hate to do that. Really,
I love the guy.
Chief Ryman was really instrumental in helping our sheriff's department facilitate that and try and make something really bad better.
Mm-hmm.
So, team play. And
Yeah.
I will certainly send that back to Marnie and her team.
Great. Thank you. Council President.
Commissioner Willie, thank you very much for coming. And I would just like to echo what the mayor said with regard to the discussion, particularly the community meetings that were held about the Elm Street property. Jess and her people were much involved with those discussions. They went very well. I attended both of them. And they just conducted themselves very professionally. They listened. They had answers. Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. I will certainly share that as well. I know this has been, we're 3 years into this. This has been a hard time. It's been new stuff. So I will certainly share that with her too. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for Commissioner Willie? Okay. Well, thanks for coming out to the Grove. Have a nice night.
You bet.
Okay, we're up. We're right on time, Commissioner Willie. So our next presentation, E2, is from the Forest Grove Senior Center. And I would invite Sophia Statomaitis, I hope, the executive director. And I know last name is Mr. Kolb, but I don't know first name. Adam Kolb, that's right. Thank you.
Presentation up there. So first off, let me start off by saying thank you very much for having us. It's an honor to talk to you all tonight. I am on the board as the president for the Senior Center, and Sophia is our executive director. So we're going to be talking with you, be talking with you a little bit about what's going on at the Senior Center to get everybody up to speed. So the Senior Center right now, just as a kind of a demographic that we're working with, we're focused, most of the folks that are coming in are seniors in their 70s to 90s. We have a number of programs that are being worked at the center, continually adding things all the time. I won't list everything off, but everybody can see there what's on there. There are a lot of good opportunities for lots of opportunities for the center to bring in different programs and such. The next slide there is talks a little bit about what our income is, what our budget is, and what our expenses. So to date, we have a budgeted income of about $198,000. This is made up mostly of fundraising that we're doing throughout the year. Bingo is a opportunity that we've been able to be fairly successful with at the center, running the bingo program. And then if you look at the flip side of thing, our expenses are a bit higher than what our income is, a little over $200,000. The majority of this is payroll, so payroll accounts for $130,000. There's not, for our staff, there's not any insurance, medical, dental, any of the normal benefits you would see throughout most businesses. And so the salaries and the hourly wages haven't been adequate to to be able to run the center successfully. We've been working on a number of things to try and look for opportunities to raise those amounts, but it's been pretty difficult. Next slide. The shortfalls are really around the wages. What we'd like to do is get competitive wages for the folks that are at the senior center. We have about an $80,000 shortfall. And a majority of this is going to be around the director's salary as well as some of the supporting staff. It is a pretty small staff right now. It's our director and about 3 to 4 part-time people that are working. We do rely pretty heavily on volunteers, and we do have an endowment that we have that's been fairly flat as far as keeping money. We seem to have been. I've been on the board for about 10 years. It's pretty much stayed in the black most of those years and done pretty well. But that endowment is something that we've been trying to grow. So at some point we can become more self-sustaining. But right now, with our current model, our trajectory isn't sustainable. So talking about some of the synergies that we could do, there's a lot of programs that are out in the community that we could potentially get involved with and use those opportunities to bring in funds to help run the center. There's a number of things that I've stated here on the slides, working with Park and Rec, working with the library, working with other groups to further some of the activities. Right now, we have the center is actually fairly unutilized after 4 p.m. There's opportunities there to bring in additional programs for the center. So as far as the cost to get there, we would love to add new programs. We're always looking at potential grants, a number of things. So an example, a Tai Chi instructor would be about $100 an hour to train, to come in for training. They're usually certified, and it does cost a little bit of money to have them there. That's probably one of the more high-end things that we're looking to do. But if we had the opportunities and we had the funding, the programs come with it. And so we'd love to have an additional staff coordinator. These are all of our pipe dreams right now. Right now, we're really just trying to figure out a way to balance out. And we're also looking for competitive wages for the staff. The folks that have come and worked, they've done it through a labor of love. And so I know many of you know some of the past directors that have been at the center, Rayanne and Sonia. These are folks that have done it because they really have a passion for it. And, that's something that we would really like to be able to provide, better wages for the folks. We do need to bring in more volunteers. We've found that after COVID, we've struggled with that a little bit. Bringing in people to volunteer. We've capped out a lot of groups. We've gone to the high school, we've gone to Pacific, we've gone to some of the civic groups that are Forest Grove. And then just people that are come in that want to help off the street. All of those numbers have generally declined after. And as you can imagine, that's pretty important to being able to run the center. Lastly, our dream is to get to grow our endowment fund to about $5 million. At that point, we would be able to be pretty much self-sustaining off the interest. And so, in the future, that's our goal, and that's the goal we've had for a while, and we've made some progress at building that. But usually, on a year-to-year basis, we're working with a budget that has higher expenses. So some of the ideas that we have that we want to present to the council here is talking about what the opportunities are with the city. I want you to consider, is there an opportunity to potentially have our director funded under the city umbrella? These are things that I'm just throwing out. So not sure what everything is possible, but maybe having a line item on the city budget. I know that the building is something that the city owns, as well as the utilities are being paid by the city. We're looking at trying to grow the center and trying to have it be more part of this this community as not only a senior center but also a community center. So is there opportunities to fund through bond measures? I know that we've recently done a park and fire and park and rec levy. If there's an opportunity for something like that in the future. And then we're going to continue to look for operational grants. We found a lot of grants that are capital improvements of the building. We've taken advantage of those. But looking to add additional programs for the center is going to take more operational grants that can help with our general fund. All right, so some of the things I'd like the council to consider is what you all see the center being used for. This obviously is a very social place for our seniors and any of the many community members that are utilizing the building. What do you see for it? What demographics should we be catering to? Should we be looking at continuing to keep it senior focused, or really reaching into the community and looking for opportunities within the community? Are there other synergies that you see between some of the city run operations here and what the senior center and the community center could do as a group together? Are there other folks that we could partner with? And what other ideas do you have? That is, I believe, the last slide there. And primary contact information. This is Sophia's contact information. Everyone in your busy days.
Okay, Councillor Ewing.
Thanks for coming this evening. It's really nice to hear from you and have you in the auditorium with us. I have mentioned to the council during our retreat that, excuse me, there were concerns about sustainability. And this is something that I believe we're going to begin having a conversation on, but I do appreciate your questions for the council. And it has been short that I've been their liaison, but truly a dedicated group of board members and volunteers that support that effort. But the volunteers are declining as well as financial support. So I hope we'll have a meatier conversation when we go forward with our goals and objectives to kind of see where we want to go with this particular important nonprofit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Ewing. Any other councillors? Yeah, I appreciate the questions. Candidly, and just because I'm pretty honest, I'm just going to speak for myself. I think long-term wise, we've done a lot of work to invest in recreation, in our recreation programming. It wasn't until 2 years ago we passed a levy to get a recreation coordinator. Right, we're currently right now going through our rate fee structure. I think for myself, the end result is we have recreation for everybody in our community, and that would include senior centers, right, youth recreation, adult recreation. The timeline, I just don't know, and I don't know exactly how we get there, or how long it's going to take to get there and how we're going to get there. But I think, and I don't want to speak for anyone else on the council, but you have a Parks and Rec director who's run seniors programs in McMinnville and has done a lot of work. So I can't give you like a definite answer right now. Plus it would be like inappropriate because we haven't had a work session. We haven't gone to budget and these things, but I know for myself, I was actually just at the senior center last month with the Tualatin Valley Harmonic grandmasters for the barbershop quartet. You guys had bingo in the main room, and I was back there with that class. So I've lived here my whole life. I totally know the value and will work in ways, whatever way I can to help support the center.
Appreciate that. And this is really meant to be a conversation starter versus something to take away today. So,
Okay.
Appreciate any type of partnership we can come up with. Appreciate Councilor Ewing's remarks about, just starting to talk about that in budget.
Cool. Well, thank you too for your volunteer work and how you serve our community.
Thank you.
Okay, have a nice night. Thanks. Thank you to all the supporters who came to give you support too. Okay, we're going to move on to item F1, public hearings, ordinances, and resolution. I will now open the public hearing on ordinance number 2024-04. If approved by the City Council, this ordinance will amend the traffic code section of the Forest Grove City Code. I'm going to have Assistant City Manager and Paul Downey and Police Chief Ryman come present for staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilor. I'll probably do most of the staff report. Henry's here to ask questions since a lot of this stuff ends up coming through municipal court. And that's one of my areas. So, proposing to add new code language and remove existing code language to allow service of citations or complaints by certified mail, and also remove some redundant language in some of the certain codes. I'm going to go through the high points of what we're looking to change. One of the things we're looking to change is serving citations to property owners who live outside the area, which can be difficult. Not being able to serve the citation on the property owner makes enforcement of potential code violations difficult. To address this difficulty, we're looking at serving citations on property owners who live outside the area. A new city code was written enabling the police department to serve city code citation or complaint by certified mail. Many cities already do this. Proposed code change allows delivery of citation or complaint by personal mail or certified mail. Mail return receipt requested that the person be served. If they're served by mail, staff has to prove the person had noticed citation or complaint either by return receipt confirming delivery or by rejecting the citation or complaint as part of the certified mail delivery. That's one of the major changes we're trying to make, particularly with code enforcement. We'll make code enforcement job a lot easier if they can serve the citation to people. The police department also has difficulty taking enforcement against trailers and vehicles that are parked on the street and appear to be abandoned. Changing the ordinance, we're proposing as language to include or within 500 feet of the same location for more than 24 hours and meets one or more of the conditions listed in the ordinance. And for an abandoned vehicle, we're going to add a condition that says the vehicle appears to have been abandoned by its owner and no person residing at a property in the vicinity of the vehicle claims a right of control over it. That condition already exists for abandoned trailers. This clause enables the police department to tag the vehicles that clearly look to be abandoned or determined to be abandoned because no one in the vicinity claims ownership. The other code changes we're making are needed cleanup or clarification to the changes in city's fees that we've made or clarifying the process involved. One of the major changes that we're going to make, so I'll take any questions. Henry and or I will take any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff? I don't see any. I'm looking at both my venues. Okay, so I will now call on persons who signed up to comment on the ordinance. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Are there any proponents who would like to testify on ordinance 2024-04? Right, no one was signed up in the, okay. Any opponents who would like to give public comments? And any other comments? Okay, I'm going to close the hearing. Sorry, I got myself. Is there a motion from council to approve the second reading of ordinance 2024-04?
Second or first read?
First, did I say second? Well, I would just like to say that's what the script said, but anyways, is there a motion from council to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2024-04? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Ordinance number 2024-04 was moved by Counselor Martinez and seconded by Counselor Rippey. Wait, are there any additional, do I have to like get an all? It's a little, it says now, are there any additional questions or further discussion from council on the motion? But I don't have, will you read it first? No. Okay, are there any additional questions or further discussions from the council on the motion before we proceed with the roll call vote? That's what the script says. Then it says city manager. I know, I thought it was the other way.
The city manager should read it before there's a vote on it. So I think it should be discussion, city manager reads it, and then a roll call vote.
Right, okay. So I need discussion?
Sorry about that.
That's fine. Okay, will the city manager please read the ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 2024-04, adding to and amending Forest Grove Code of Ordinances, Title I, General Provisions, Section 10.09, Title VII, Traffic Code, Section 73.055, the mobilization and impoundment of vehicles, Section 74.01, definitions, Section 74.05, towing and storage liens, Section 74.06, pre-towing notice, Section 74.07, post-towing notice, Section 74.09, charges and release of vehicle or trailer, Section 74.10, sale or disposal of vehicle or trailer not reclaimed, and Section 74.11, sale or disposition of vehicle or trailer appraised at $500 or less.
Thank you. Would the city recorder please call for the vote?
Counselor Gustafson,
Sorry, yes.
Council President Rippey,
Yes.
Counselor Martinez,
Yes.
Counselor Marshall,
Yes.
Counselor Valenzuela,
Yes.
Counselor Ewing,
Yes.
Mayor Wenzel.
Yes, ordinance number 2024-04 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a 7-0 vote. Thank you very much. Moving on to resolution 2024-08, adopting the 2024 City Council goals and objectives. I'm going to turn this over to Ashley or to Jesse. Does it matter?
To Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. You're still muted, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for having me. And I'm here to present the staff report for this resolution. And so in accordance with your council rules, the City Council sets short and long-term goals and objectives every year that must be adopted no later than March. The council goals and objectives provide direction to staff in the development of the city budget and department work plans. And City Council and staff gathered on Saturday, February 24th for a work session retreat to set clear direction for the organization and refine the goals and objectives for 2024. And in preparation for this retreat, SSW Consulting conducted outreach interviews with council and staff to discuss opportunities and challenges on the horizon that should be considered as part of the goal refinement process. The results of the outreach informed the development of the retreat agenda to ensure a productive and engaging retreat designed to achieve the following outcomes: to develop a shared understanding of the organizational and community context, to inform the team's goal refinement. We did this through a context mapping exercise together. Second, to refine the goals to address community needs and plan for the future. Third, to identify measurable objectives with clear outcomes and to track progress over time. And fourth, to prioritize the objectives to inform the prioritize objectives to inform the implementation plan for staff. We worked together in large and small groups to pursue these outcomes together. And one of the items I'd like to highlight from the retreat was part of the context mapping exercise, in which we celebrated a number of accomplishments of the Forest Grove team from 2023, including ordinances that address homelessness, drug usage on public property, and drone usage. Other accomplishments include a new park, updating boards and commissions, initiating a 2040 vision and action plan, lowering barriers to building accessory dwelling units, significant transportation and facility improvements, expanded recreation opportunities, additional incentive programs to promote electric alternative mobility options, and planning efforts to develop a park in a historically underserved area. And following the retreat, council and staff worked together to further refine the goals and objectives, and completed a live polling exercise to prioritize the objectives to be a valuable data point for staff, and that happened at the February 26th work session. The results of the goal-setting retreat and work session include 4 council goals and 19 supporting objectives, as well as the addition of strategic planning to the list of the city's values. The goals include the 4 goals are: 1, to address long-term growth and support housing stability; 2, plan an inclusive and sustainable community; 3, improve community safety; 4, enhance recreation opportunities for all. And each of these goals has specific outcomes tied to those, and of course, specific objectives to support those goals. And those are listed in your packet. And for each objective, city staff assigned departments and timelines of 1 to 3 years, depending on the expected completion of the objective. Additionally, staff will develop a work plan for each objective, outlining the milestones, fiscal impacts, staff roles, and responsibilities. And after the goals and objectives are adopted by council, they will be included in a retreat summary report, which will detail the retreat process that we went through together and provides additional context as to how the goals and objectives were developed, and outlines the assigned department and expected timeline for each objective. And this report will be included in your council notebooks for reference in the future. I just would like to take the opportunity to say thank you for the opportunity to support your team and the Forest Grove Council staff and community through this work. You have such a talented and dedicated team here at the city, and it's been such a pleasure to work with you all. And we're excited for the wonderful things the next year has in store for you all and for Forest Grove. And that concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ashley. Any questions from council? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-08?
I move that we approve resolution number 2024-08.
I second.
Resolution number 2024-08 was moved by Council President Rippey and seconded by Councilor Valenzuela. Will the city recorder please read the resolution by title only?
Resolution number,
Go ahead, sorry, Jess.
no worries. Resolution number 2024-08, adopting the 2024 City Council goals and objectives.
Thank you. Discussion by council? I just want to say thank you to Ashley. It's just always really nice to have a facilitator come in. I'm like before a consultant facilitator post, and it's just so nice to have someone to like organize us and really move the conversation in a productive way. I think that in the past, I would assume it would be hard for the city manager to tell us, like, get ourselves like back on task. So I think you all do a really good job, and you did a great job. This is the first time you took it over from Sarah for our organization, and you just did a great job. So I want to say thank you to you for that. Any other questions? Okay, well, if no further questions, I will now ask the city recorder, I'm going to correct titles, to please call for a roll call vote.
Councillor Gustafson?
Yes.
Council President Rippey?
Yes.
Councillor Martinez?
Yes.
Councillor Marshall?
Yes.
Councillor Valenzuela?
Yes.
Councillor Ewing?
Yes.
Mayor Wenzel?
Yes, resolution number 2024-08 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a 7-0 vote. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Ashley. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, moving on. I think Keith is up next. He was queued up in the back. We're going to move on to resolution number 2024-09, and I'm going to ask our Light and Power Director, Keith Horman, to do the staff report.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council. I'll briefly run through the staff report. As you know, the line extension policy is the model that we use to bill our customers for system developments, anything that happens on the system where we need to charge them. And as most of you were on council and you remember in 2019, I came to you with a line extension to update it at that point after an 11-year span, which you all did approve. Councilor Rippey had mentioned at that time to please do not let this go that long in between again. So I did remember that. Also just to keep you updated, in 2022, we also came back to you saying that we're seeing some crazy prices in our materials. And I requested that we have a material surcharge, which you all approved. And then this last fall, just to keep the story going, you approved a short extension on that material surcharge because we were still seeing that while we reviewed the policy. Well, since this last fall, we have reviewed the policy and we do have some recommendations that we'd like to give to you. As you know, as soon as we update our policy, the next day it's already outdated because we're using, or at least the next July, we're using current labor charges and everything else. So what we are proposing to go away from the per lot charge, the crediting, and just go to an actual cost-based scenario. So in other words, what it costs us is what we pass that cost on to the customer. This includes subdivisions and all new extensions that we do. So that's what we're requesting. We just kind of change that model and just we cover our costs and we recoup those costs as we install systems, extend the system. That's all I have there. If you have questions.
Questions for staff? Council President Rippey.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it. Does this simplify your work or just very much? That's what I thought. So I just wanted to hear you say it. So thank you.
I think it's a swell idea too.
What's that?
It's a swell idea. It makes a lot of sense. And I mean, we're public utilities. It's just cost recovery. So any other questions for staff? Okay, is there a motion to adopt resolution 2024-09?
I move that we, just a second, place here. I move that we approve resolution 2024-09.
I second.
Great. Resolution number 2024-09 was moved by Council President Rippey and seconded by Councilor Martinez. Will the city manager please read it by title only?
Resolution adopting revisions to Light and Power Department line extension policy and repealing resolutions number 2019-50, number 2022-11, and number 2023-49.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion from council? Seeing none, I will ask the city recorder to please call roll vote.
Councillor Gustafson,
Yes.
Council President Rippey,
Yes.
Councillor Martinez,
Yes.
Councillor Marshall,
Yes.
Councillor Valenzuela,
Yes.
Councillor Ewing,
Yes.
Mayor Wenzel.
Yes, resolution number 2024-09 has been adopted by the Forest Grove City Council in a vote of 7-0. Thank you, Keith. We're going to move on to item G, council communications, and we will start with Council President Rippey.
Yeah, you caught me flat-footed.
Want me to skip you for a minute?
Yes, would you please?
I would be more than happy. Councilor Gustafson?
Okay. I don't have a lot. I did go to the PAC retreat on the 2nd of March, and they did have some more questions. So I'm just going to start running them off here. One of the questions was around, I know we can't fundraise, but they have the art festival that's going to be coming up this season and wanted to know if they can accept money from sponsors of the art festival or from people that just want to donate to the PAC to help them do the things that they do. So is sponsorships and donations acceptable?
I mean, my response to that is no. I think we went through some of the questions the last meeting about like their mini grants. My understanding is anything they had in their fund before we did the sponsorship, the arts, like using TLT funds, they can use any of those pre-earned fundraising funds for mini grants. But my understanding from the work session, and staff and council can correct me, is that they can only fundraise for a big capital project, like a big actual thing. So an operational Festival Street that they've been working on does not fit within that. So tell them no, thank you for that.
Okay, so isn't fundraising, it's donations and sponsorships, but that's fine. I can let them know, but, excuse me, not fundraising and sponsorships, but donations. So
Paul,
if somebody wants to donate.
Hang on, let me check with Paul.
Okay.
I'm going to call Paul up here about donations. I just think my initial thought is it's kind of slippery, but we'll let the expert finance director. Hi, Paul. Thanks for coming back.
Hello. We accept donations for other departments, like for example, the library will get donations, the parks will get donations. So a donation to the Public Arts Commission wouldn't really be anything different than that, as long as they're not going out seeking the donation. If somebody voluntarily makes a donation to them.
So I stand corrected. Voluntary donations are acceptable. You can't seek donations, so they couldn't say, hey, donate to this or accepting donations at this email, but they can accept. They can't seek, but they can accept. Okay.
Could I have a little bit more clarification on sponsorships? Because sponsorships, again, to me, and fundraising are kind of a different thing than fundraising. So you have an event, somebody wants to sponsor a table, which we've done as a city before. Can I have a little bit more clarification on the overview of sponsorship? Paul, please.
Sure. Oh, okay. I could give you some
you as well,
thoughts.
Donna. Just opening
okay,
the conversation.
The
Just
city's
to give
not
some examples
really
of-
done sponsorships itself on events that it's done. I mean, we've sponsored at a few other things, but we really haven't done a lot of sponsorships. I know there's probably one waste event that we did where we took some sponsorships. Waste Management helped sponsor it because they were putting it on and they were doing a lot of the work. So it's not something that we actively looked for sponsorships to say we'll give you $5,000 whatever to sponsor this event. We don't actively go out looking for sponsorships for things. So we really don't do a lot of events of that nature.
But we have sponsored as a city, is my understanding, Paul, for other nonprofits. If we purchased a table for dinner,
We don't allow table purchases for dinners. That's a strict council guideline that we do not do. We don't do sponsorships for other entities' fundraising events.
Okay.
I do want to make one small clarification. We do have the tourism event sponsorship program, which is specifically for sponsorships. But with regard to the question about purchasing tables at a fundraising event, no, we have not done that in the past. Just maybe if I could ask a question of Councilor Gustafson, Mayor.
Yes.
Is the sponsorship, typically sponsorship is associated with fundraising? So I was curious, would this be the Public Arts Commission seeking sponsorships from people for the event? And would the sponsorships cost money?
What it could look like would be, and I can give some examples, any flyers that need to be printed to promote the festival that costs money. So sometimes GAN Printing sponsors by providing printing for free. So it's a trade. Or for instance, maybe the chamber wants to sponsor by paying for the banner for the art festival, and they would get their logo on the banner or other materials in trade for that sponsorship. So it's kind of looks like that. It's not money that's being given to, like to put in their bank, right? Where you fundraise, you're usually, putting the money in your bank or you're using it for a specific thing. So the sponsorship is specific to something that is needed at that specific event. I understand it is slippery, but it's also difficult. It's just a weird spot because this group does really,
I'm almost
bring
wondering-
everything home, right? And they're working so hard to not have funds or the ability to even obtain sponsorships makes things difficult. So, something to chew on. If there's no other questions on that one, I had a couple more.
Yeah, go ahead. But the other thing I'm curious, like one thing about the funding, I want to ask staff is, when do they receive the funds? Weren't they getting like $10,000 this fiscal year from the TLT?
Yes, the Public Arts Commission is getting approximately that much. It's for installation art. Those
so it's
monies
not-
from the TLT is for installation art. Yeah.
We'll
they
actually
Um,
hold
the
that
oth-
money.
The other thing about sponsorships that I'd actually would like to reach out to legal counsel. I don't know if there might be a city speech issue there. There's when the city sponsors an event, that's one thing. When the city opens up an event for a sponsorship, that's entirely another. So I'd like to look into that kind of separate question and get back to the council if I may.
Okay, yeah, we'll look more into this, or staff, well, I'm not going to look more into it. Staff
Okay.
will look more into it. But go ahead with your report. Thank you, Councilor Gustafson.
Okay. Sure. And then the other one was they wanted to clarify that if they are subject to the same public meeting rules.
So if the general rule is if
She froze. I don't think we didn't hear her full question. Dawn is still frozen right now. So I don't know what her question is. Let's give her a minute.
Can you guys
Now you froze. We just heard that little bit.
can you hear me?
Okay, keep trying. Yeah, go ahead and try to talk, Donna.
How about now?
Yes.
I can hear
Can you
via
hear
Zoom.
me?
We can hear her.
You can? Okay. Okay, good. Sorry, I'll go fast because my internet is getting spotty now. So public meeting rules apply to PAC meetings and subcommittee meetings. Yes?
Yes.
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 All right, and they are requesting that there be a process, a simple process to follow when boards or commissions would like to request things of the council, such as subcommittees.
There is a process.
And we don't really have a formal process.
Well, the process says they need to ask the staff because it's staff time. And then they need to take it to you, the liaison, and the liaison brings it back to the council, and council gives consensus one way or the other. I believe that's what I got out
Yes,
of the
but they-
recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, it's all pretty clear to me. I don't understand the lack of confusion. Or the confusion.
I think that what they're asking for is specifically what information does the council need to make that decision?
If it matches with
Just
the
saying
goal
we
and
want to
objective.
do this isn't enough.
I think for me, it's
Okay.
if the subcommittee meets one of our goals and objectives, and then also the time it takes staff, because we have to be really conscientious that because of public meeting laws, that any time a subcommittee meets, then that's additional staff time. So for me, those are my two big things: is how is it connected to a goal and objective, and what's the capacity of our staff to be there, and how long is it going to last?
And so what's the scope? What's the very purpose of the subcommittee? How many meetings are they anticipating, which defines how much staff time would be required? Is this a subcommittee that's going to meet for 10 months or 2 months? That makes a big difference of whether or not I would vote for approval of it. And and what's their specific purpose? What are the outcomes that they're looking for? If it's a subcommittee that's going to deal with something year after year after year after the same thing, then that's not what I think we're looking for.
So, Councilor Rippey, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I am looking for that list that you just spun out. Do we have a formal form that is easy for our boards and commissions to use instead of just everything by mouth? I think it would be much easier if we have, here's your things that we need to know. Hand it in with your council liaison. That's the request. And that's all
I don't have a problem with that. I will tell you that I do not have a problem with that. I think that it behooves us as leadership to provide as much direction and guidance. And while it's wonderful to talk about these things in a council meeting, I think a short, form for every subcommittee to have to fill out and have answered by the staff, including, like you said, the length of the subcommittee, all of those things can get lost in the weeds. So I see no problem whatsoever in supporting our boards and commissions with a short form that they can complete and know that they've done their due diligence for the council. That's just my input as.
Yeah, Jesse's giving us a head nod that we can get that done, so, sounds good. Do you have, we keep
Great.
cutting you off, Counselor Gufson, and I know you have, your internet's like probably frustrating anyway, but do you have more to report on?
Nope, that's it. I'm
Great.
good. Thanks.
Cool, thank you. I will go back to Council President Rippey.
Thank you. So the TV Highway Steering Committee met in separate groups a couple weeks ago. And so the session that I attended, and they were meeting in smaller groups to have more intimate, if you will, discussion around two proposed general concepts for the funding of the TV highway project, the corridors along a project. The first is, and they refer to them as CIG versus non-CIG. CIG stands for Capital Improvement Grants, which are generally federal level grants. So there's one approach. The general concept was to look at getting federal funding for this whole project. They were looking at approximately $550 million for the whole TV highway corridor, which was probably a bit too much for them to be able to secure at the federal level. So the other concept they're looking at is referred to as the non-CIG or state and local funding. And then to do that, they were looking at prioritizing what projects would be included in that. And they reduced the price tag approximately to $350 million versus $550 million. So they were looking for feedback on that. And some of the projects that would not be funded, let me put it this way. The projects with the non-CIG or the state local funding would focus almost exclusively on safety issues, safety for pedestrians, safety at the and the station facility, shelters at the station, crossings, and those kinds of things. But the larger, more expensive aspects of building pull-out lanes for buses, those would not be included. So they were focusing on safety, not focusing on rapid transit. Okay, that's where we are. That was the discussion. That was the feedback. I missed the EDC meeting because we were at the NLC conference. Today, the chamber board met, and I missed that due to a medical appointment. The Fire Services Task Force meets Wednesday night, so I'll have more information for you the next meeting with regard to where we're heading on that thing. So I think that's it.
Thank you. Okay, next up, I have Counselor Marshall.
I have nothing to report. Both my meetings are Wednesday week.
Oh, get them done in one day.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, Counselor Martinez.
So with the Forest Grove Rural Fire Protection District Board, there were a number of repairs that were done at the Gills Creek Fire Station. Rain gutter repairs, window replacement, siding repair, new paint. They did quite a bit there. And then the fire department awards banquet is planned for April 26th. And then Forest Grove Fire and Rescue, they're working on a project to more efficiently utilize the volunteers. The plan would be to add a non-transport ambulance as a response resource, which would be staffed by volunteer firefighters. Generally speaking, in Forest Grove, volunteers ride on the fire engine in addition to career staff. The fire department can gain efficiencies by adding an additional deployable resource staffed by volunteers. The response unit will most likely be deployed at peak times during the day. They have a meeting scheduled March 12th to present the program to all the volunteers, and then they will sign up for open spots.
Thank you. Counselor Ewing.
Thanks. So I think you've got a pretty good overview of the senior center meetings or meeting that I attended, so I don't want to spend time on that. I do want to go forward and talk about CCE. They elected their new chair, Heather Finnegan, and their vice chair is David Anderson, and then Tom Cook is going to continue with duties as the secretary. We talked a lot about the ATM, and one of the questions that came forward so that we provide more equity and inclusion in the ATM is the ability to have an interpreter. So I don't know, I'm going to push this out to Jesse. Jesse, is that something they have to make a formal request on, or how can I report back to them on having an interpreter?
So I'm going to look over at Paul. I believe we have hired an interpreter in the past during the annual town meeting. Paul, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's been a while, but we have hired an interpreter for the annual town meeting in the past, and that meeting was a single. We didn't have breakout groups. I mean, it all depends on the format and for how we would provide interpreter services for an annual town meeting. What's their format going to be, and how are they going to do the meeting? So
it's going to be an open house, Paul. So they will have booths. And my understanding is if somebody has a question, that interpreter would work with them at the booth of their request. So I see it not as just, sitting there and interpreting on a headset. I see it really more as an active type of interpretation. Okay. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. I mean, multiple booths. We probably still only need one interpreter. I was trying to figure out, depending on the format, would we need multiple or not? But probably one interpreter would probably work even for that format.
I think that's really kind of what their idea is to have just one interpreter. And then also, will we need support in getting materials out in Spanish as well as English? Is that a request we need to make?
No, if CCE develops material for the annual town meeting, we will have it translated into Spanish as part of what we do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Also, they're waiting for our goals and objectives so that they can really finalize what they want to do going forward, especially with the ATM. I've also asked that Stephanie perhaps provide an engagement 101, which she is willing to do, because this team is good. But I think that one thing that really came up during our goal and objective sessions with our contractor was that people view and understand engagement, community engagement different. There are experts that prepare people. And since this is going to be a large part of their role, I wanted them to have something like a engagement 101 so that everybody's on the same page as we go forward and begin the process of engaging with more of our community. Also, they would like to do more cross-pollinating. That's their term. I think it's a good term. Cross-pollinating with other boards and commissions. One of their things that really became evident to them was they really don't know what other boards and commissions are doing or really understand what their focus and goals are. And they really want to work more collaborative in being able to get that message out in the community. So how we're going to go about that, I'm not quite sure, but there is an interest, and I'm hoping that we can put something together so that it can be used by other boards and commissions as we begin doing more partnerships. Also, well, I think that'll do it. I think that's good for now. Thanks a lot.
Counselor Ewing, do they have a date for the ATM yet?
No, we have not set a date at this time. We're going to really begin finalizing that more at this month's meeting or the one coming up so that we can provide that. Also, the Senior Center has quite a few dates for different activities, but it's a little bit more out in the future. So I'll give a shout out as those become more concrete.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to Counselor Valenzuela.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Policy Advisory Board canceled their March meeting. So I don't have any news to you from that. And I believe there should be a Library Commission meeting coming up soon, but I have nothing in my calendar yet. However, I do want to share with you, Saturday was a great day. It was a lovely weather, but also a great day because the staff from the Oregon Department of Forestry and Centro Cultural's Climate Justice Leadership Youth Program, KIDS, we visited 18 properties around Maple and 13th Avenue to speak to the property owners and make sure that they understand and that they know that there is funding available that will cover the cost for tree removal. The trees that have been infested with the emerald ash borer are beyond repair. It looked very sad to see all those, all those trees, all those dead trees. So our task was to make sure that the property owners were aware of this. And as I said, there will be no cost to the removal of the tree, and that will happen in April, but they need a permit from the city. So that's the part that they need to get done. So I hope people are watching us, and this information can be put to good use. And then in the fall, they will get a new tree of their choice. They have some, a list of trees to choose from, and I think that's really, really cool. And that will happen in the fall. That's when you plant trees. So, of course, I'm very proud of the kids from Climate Justice, and very grateful to the Oregon Department of Forestry for helping us with this.
Thank you. Did you have a date for the library's gathering of the groups?
I do not.
Okay. If there's at your commissions, if there's a date, that just send an email out so that we can get it on our calendars and show up. I think it's really important to the community, to our commissions, that they see us showing up at these events. So I just want to.
Well, along that vein, the Chamber's Gala is Saturday, and all the members of council have been invited.
This coming Saturday?
No,
Saturday.
It's the 23rd, 5:30 to 8:30 at the Walter Cultural Center in Hillsborough.
Okay.
I think, yeah. But we can come back to that. City manager report, please.
Sure, just a couple items. We are just starting our internal budget meeting, so it's going to be very busy around City Hall for the next few weeks, and that's somewhat in preparation for the April 2nd informational budget meeting. That's Tuesday, April 2nd. Also coming up this Wednesday, there's a Charter Commission listening session. That's at 6 o'clock here in the community auditorium. We're also conducting boards and commissions recruitment. It's posted on the website. We've done some social media stuff about it as well. We are looking for applications by April 30th. The 4 boards and commissions that we're recruiting for that have vacancies are CCE, Community Forestry Commission, Economic Development Commission, and the Historic Landmarks Board. So all the information is on the website. If there's anybody in the public that would like to apply, please do so by April 30th. A couple other things. The 2040 plan is out and advertised. We've received quite a few proposals thus far, so it's being well received. We're encouraged by what we've seen thus far. Also, Site B for the Urban Renewal Agency is being advertised as well. We did have a pre-proposal conference. There's not much more I can share except when the proposal process is closed, we'll take what we got, see if we got any proposals, and we'll have a work session with the board to review what we received about Site B. Just briefly, we did put out a preference for a boutique hotel and a downtown grocery store. So that's what we're advertising, that's what we're marketing, and we'll see what we get.
Awesome. Exciting. Oh, are you done with your report?
Thank you, Mayor.
It's my turn. Thank you. So Dr. Jenny Coyle and myself and the city manager and then some of her administrators, we meet monthly, and just I want to give a couple updates for Pacific. Their Native American Union youth group is working on trying to build a longhouse event space. And so right now they're just really in the funding stage of, even the architecture design is costing a lot. Also, if you guys want to pull, I have lots of dates for you to add to your calendars. That's why I was asking dates. But the Pacific Luau is April 13th. It's always good to show up and support Pacific because Pacific supports us. We are inviting Pacific University to our joint work session this year. For those who have been in the past to our joint work sessions, it was typically the City of Cornelius, Forest Grove School District, City of Forest Grove. We're including Pacific this year. And, Jesse met with staff from these organizations, and we decided that the topic, in the past, there's been an intersection with recreation. Those are just the natural nexus of where we all intersect in the community. So we're actually using SSW consultants who we use for our council goals and objectives to facilitate that work session. So that's pretty exciting. That work session is going to be in April. I think it might be April 8th. Is it April 8th? Jeez, I am sometimes I'm on it. So it's April 8th. So that's our next meeting. So that's coming up on our next meeting. I do want to give you a heads up. I was going to address this at the last meeting, but I didn't give mayor comments. I co-authored an op-ed piece about the partnership between SHS, City of Forest Grove, and then co-authored with the Mayor of Beaverton. Just really, Elena says this all the time, and I agree, celebrating our successes and how the SHS, how we've partnered and worked together. And we highlighted the encampment on 47 as being a success story. One of the reasons behind that op-ed is because it has been communicated to me that Metro wants to use funding from SHS for affordable housing. And we want to say hey, this is working in Washington County, and these are examples of projects that are working. I don't know really what's going to happen with that Metro conversation, but just as a 411, I've heard that there is a conversation about that. Some other dates while you have your calendars out. This Thursday, County Commission Chair Harrington is having a town hall meeting in the Public Service Building in Hillsboro, Oregon. It's the 21st from 6 to 7 in room 120. So if you want to go to the county town hall, that's a great opportunity. The Forest Grove and Cornelius Chamber Gala is Saturday the 23rd, also in Hillsboro. The Oregon Heritage Conference will be here in Forest Grove on April 18th through April 20th. the state of the city for Forest Grove and Cornelius will be located here in this room on the 22nd of April at noon. So it's Monday at noon on the 22nd. The Habitat for Humanity fundraiser is Saturday night, April 27th at the Senior Center. So those are my dates. And now I get to say how awesome our staff is. We have the best staff, for real, the best staff. And so there's some other celebrations we had to have. Last June, staff put together like bids for some really good projects, and we received federal funding, and some of them just got voted on in the last week. So we received some congressional allocations for a COPS grant for our East Forest Grove TV Highway Safety Improvement Plan, which would be Quince to U Street, and then Community Solar, which will assist our CAPE assistance program in light and power. I believe that's $2.3 million for 2023.
Yes.
And it's all possible because our staff kicks butt. Not super professional, but like me saying kicks butt. But I mean, it's so easy to sell those projects. They're ready, they're succinct, it's so good. So I just want to say, like, let's go. So exciting. So anyways, when we were in DC, we went and thanked our congressional delegation. We invited the senators to the ribbon cutting for the community solar. Sorry, Chief, I don't know what we do with a cop, like ribbon cutting, but we said thank you. It's very important. And then we also asked for funding. So the deal with the East Forest Grove TV Highway Safety Plan was initially Congresswoman Bonamici was going to award us the $3 million we asked for, but there's some like wheeling and dealing with depending on which partisan is like in control of the House. So she only got $850,000. So we revisited that request, saying that we need more to do all the things we need to do. And then we also asked for funding for 21st Avenue Festival Street. And then our loop trail, our master plan loop trail. So all in all, I thought it was a successful trip to DC, and just wanted to say thanks. Thank you, staff. Okay. And with that, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. We do have a work session right after this, though. Do you guys want to take a 5-minute break or just roll into the work session? Let's roll into it because it's a really short work session. Brenda's going to keep it to like 10 minutes. I mean, I'm going to try, Brenda. Okay. Are we good to go, staff? Okay. So I'm going to start this work session of the Forest Grove City Council at 8:34. The topic of this work session is city manager performance evaluation process. In attendance are the 7 members of the Forest Grove City Council, city staff, a couple audience members, and giving the report or starting the discussion is our Human Resources Director, Brenda Camilli. Okay, take it away.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can't tell. I can't see. There we go. Can my Zoom people hear? Yes.
Yep.
I see thumbs up. Okay, cool. Okay, well, it's that time of year again to kick off our city manager's evaluation process. And so the purpose of this work session this evening is twofold. One is for the council to review and make any comments on the evaluation criteria, which I've included in your packet. That was the forms that we revised last year. We'll talk about those in a minute. And also to provide a timeline for the process for the council review. So if you remember, the city manager's employment agreement states that the city council shall evaluate the city manager's performance at least once a year and establish criteria for evaluation in accordance with the state's open meetings law. So it says at least once a year, so you could do it as many times.
Okay, let's move on.
Upon conclusion of the evaluation, the council may make an adjustment to the annual base salary as established in Section 5 of the employment agreement. So just a couple of reminders. The evaluation criteria and policy directives must be adopted in a meeting open to the public. in which the public has an opportunity to comment, and that is the purpose of this work session this evening. Council may hold an executive session to review and evaluate the performance of the city manager. However, the council may not discuss job performance or pay, in an executive session. Council may not use an executive session to conduct a general evaluation of goals, objectives, operations, or programs. It has to be limited to the city manager's performance. City manager may request an open hearing for the performance evaluation with advance notice. So there's two purposes for the city manager evaluation. One is to evaluate the city manager's performance, of course, and the other is to act as a communication bridge for the mayor and councilors and the city manager. So as I mentioned, last year we went through a process of reviewing the forms that we were using for the council to make comments about the city manager's performance, as well as the self-evaluation form. And that is included in your packet. And I guess I'd be curious if anyone has any comments about how that document worked for you last year, and if you had any comments about the self-evaluation form itself.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none.
Okay, so the second part of if you look at the staff memo, it'll be a little easier to follow. So we have the work session happening right now today. That's number one. The second part of the process that we have proposed in order to get this hopefully completed before July 1st, managers' pay will be actually on time for any pay increases that the council decides. The second part of the process is next council meeting on April the 8th. The council will vote on any amendments to the criteria of the evaluation, so the forms, or how you're going to evaluate city manager's performance, and adopt that by resolution at the next meeting, April 8th. The following weeks, then, once we have the form adopted and everybody is good to go, you'll be completing your comments on this form and sending it to the city attorney, just like you did last year, by April 26th. At the same time, staff, the department directors will also be sending comments to the city attorney, as well as Jesse will be doing his self-evaluation, and all of that will be turned in to the city attorney confidentially by April 26th, and I underlined that in here to make sure that everyone saw that. So at that point, the city attorney will compile all the comments and scores into one document and distribute it to the council for review in an executive session to be held on May 13th. And there will be no names included. This will just be a compilation of all of the comments. So that is number 4. That would be our first executive session on May 13th, where the council will meet in executive session to discuss how the city manager has performed under the criteria and to review the first draft, the written evaluation provided by the city attorney. Council may discuss whether any changes to the written evaluation are necessary or warranted. And the city attorney will draft the final evaluation provided to the city manager for review. So that brings us to the second executive session, May 28th, where the council and city manager meet in executive session together to go over the performance evaluation. And in the council meeting on that same night, the city council will discuss any merit increase in open session, because again, you can't talk about salary in executive session. And the city council will approve by resolution in open session the city manager's evaluation and compensation effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Any questions about the timeline and comments?
I do, Brenda. So last year, I think one of the things I stumbled a bit with was that we had always had our city manager self-evaluation in hand prior to each counselor doing their own review. That really helps me a lot because there's a lot that happens in the year, and it really helps me to have Jesse's voice as I'm working through the evaluation process. Is that something that we can do this year, or is that something that I can only hope for?
No, you can answer, and then I have a different question.
Yes, that absolutely can happen. It does maybe prolong the process a little bit, or it makes Jesse expedite his self-evaluation. The other thing to keep in mind is that you'll be making your comments initially, but there's another opportunity for you once you've looked at everyone's comments and Jesse's evaluation to make any changes to the evaluation or your comments, and you can do that confidentially before city attorney finalizes it. So I guess I would want the wish of the council on how you wanted to do that, because we could do it either way. We could try and have Jesse, I'd have to look at the timeline again, submit his self-evaluation earlier, so the council would have it. I would like to keep this timeline if we can, though, to make sure that we get the evaluation done and salary ready to go.
So
I
what
would
is-
prefer, as I said, I would prefer to have his in hand as I'm working through my process, but I'm going to leave it to the council.
Is there any reason that would preclude you from being able to provide the self-evaluation earlier? Yeah, I was looking for the timeline.
Right
too.
now, it's due April 26th. And
So-
Oh, on my
it would have to
birthday.
be, ours is due April 26th, so.
Suppose Jesse could start working on it now in anticipation that you're not going to change the form.
Budget. My concern, and something we should maybe address for next year, like, one thing I would like to propose is maybe we do this evaluation during this February, March period, because one of the things that's always been a little bit angsty for me is his evaluation. There's all these deadlines. It's budget session. We're a full service city. There's all these things going on. And then we have a hard time with our budget. We have a hard time with his evaluation. And so whatever Jesse's cool with doing, I support, but I would encourage us to do this process earlier in the year, maybe following our goals and objectives adoption. Like, it's some things are fresh, what we've achieved, what we haven't. I think that would be a better place marker where we're not in this.
I'd support that but that's convenient for us. My concern is
Yeah.
if Jesse's initiating the budget process.
I know.
So
I don't
when's
know.
the heavier workload for you? February, March, or April? Right, so would you rather get your self-evaluation done prior to the internal budget process? Or
Yes. Yeah. I mean, in terms of workload, it would be better than during the internal and also external budget process. It just gets really busy. This is sooner than last year. Last year was actually, so it kind of
payback.
disentangled it a little bit, but not all the way. So, but it's, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
So if Jesse could have his, we only have one council meeting in March. If he could have his self-evaluation done by that meeting, is that early enough for everybody?
I think in February. I think we do
I mean, next year?
for next year.
Or next year?
Yeah. I think the process starts the first meeting in February. Like, he should have it done by February, and we can probably have it done by, because right now, my understanding is, right now, like, they're having their internal budget, right? It's like March and April is like when internally. So to me, February is the,
Right, but
the hot spot.
after, it, for me, it needs to be after our goals and setting session.
well, typically we do our goals in January. We got pushed off late this year. So if we stick with
So
schedule.
I think we could probably do approving the application form in January, the evaluation itself in February. It would be post-retreat, and then it could disentangle from there.
That's
So,
fine.
okay.
Okay, but for this time period, Jesse, can you get your self-evaluation to us before April 26th?
Yeah, I can do that.
You know, I have something to say about that. We're always concerned about the staff and their time and how hard they work. I think we want Jesse to have sufficient time to reflect on this evaluation. This is not something, that he should have just a little time for. I think I would ask that we continue with this timeline that we have right here. So Jesse has enough time to do what he needs to do. And I understand how valuable it is to have that information, Elena, I really do, and it would be great, but then we will have the opportunity to add comments after we read his evaluation. So I think we are okay, to do our part, but I think we should give Jesse the time he needs and that he probably has organized in his mind already how this is going to roll. So those are my 2 cents.
I guess my reaction to that is that if I were the city manager, if I were Jesse's seat, most of that self-reflection, most of my evaluation would come as a result of what the departments have accomplished. And we know, I would know that through the goals and objectives process, so that post-retreat, after we've done that process, then and I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for myself, I would be set to be able to do my self-evaluation because that information has been communicated to the staff as well as to the council. So, that's my thought process. I hear what you're saying. Your message is give him enough time to reflect. So let's hear what Jesse has to say.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want to answer this question. I got 2 I'm not picking counselors.
I think a lot of the information is kind of already out there per se. My thought is I'll start working on it and I'll just start to be diligent about it. And I think I am in a little bit of a fortunate position in that I've done these before, and so it probably wouldn't take me as long as it did maybe the first couple. So I do think by April 26th, I think I can do that with and try and get it done by then. So
Can you get it done earlier next year?
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, with enough lead time and so forth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So as far as I thought Councilor Valenzuela was talking about this year's timeline.
I think so.
So
Were you?
okay.
She was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
I
what.
was talking about next year.
I think I knew you guys were talking about 2 different things, but okay, go ahead, Brenda.
So all of the documents will be due to the city attorney, including the council comments, by April 26th. So I was going to throw this out here. On April 8th, we tried, the council meetings are spread apart. So there's a little bit of a longer period of time between April 8th and whenever you turning this into attorney. Jesse, do you think you could have yours done by April 19th? So if this is adopted, the council adopts by resolution the evaluation on April 8th. If the city manager were to get the evaluation by the 19th, could you still get all of your comments to the city attorney by the 26th?
I could, because
For me, yes.
yes.
You could start on it meanwhile.
Well, yeah.
And Jesse can start on it any time, I guess, because we're not gonna. If that will work, then we will have one more deadline in there, which Jesse will try and have his evaluation to you all to the city attorney to send to you all.
Sure.
Around the 19th.
Yeah, that gives me a little over a month. So day over a month.
I guess the missing element here was, what about the department heads? Are they going to be able to meet that time?
Well, theirs just is
You
the
wouldn't-
26th. We're not changing theirs.
We're not changing theirs?
No, Counselor Ewing wanted to see Jesse's self-reflection before, while she was working on hers. So that's my understanding. That's the only one we're
Department
changing.
directors would be submitting their comments to the city attorney by April 26th. Same city manner. Or by the 26th, but earlier is also appreciated on her. So then she has time to compile all that information for the May 13th executive.
Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate you doing that. Thanks,
You
guys.
bet.
Okay, do you need anything else from us, Ms. Camilli?
No, so just the next thing on the calendar then would be on the 8th. If you have any comments that you think of between now and then, let me know. But we're going to be adopting these 2 forms on the 8th by resolution, the 2 evaluation forms. And after that, you'll be ready to just start completing it. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for coming back and having the late shift. Okay, with that, This work session is adjourned. You're fine. Don't say sorry. I agree.
Just kind of.
No.